So once you've edited all your photos, the best way to do this is get an export going. Depending on how you're going to share your photos with your couple, whether you're going to have an online gallery or not, it may depend on your export. In Lightroom, we can select all. We can go back to our library view, select all. We've only got 5. We're going to go to File. We're going to go to Export. And here's where you can change all your settings. It's very dependent on what you're doing. Typically, I'm going to do an online gallery to share them their selects. I'm going to decide where I want it to go, specific folder within that folder. So let's go back to our wedding photos and let's leave it there. And then we're going to have it put into a subfolder within that folder with Lightroom Edits. So that's where we're going to go. I want to decide how I want to name this. Typically, I'll leave the names the same depending on who I'm working with. I have another photographer that I work with where I will create the names. So you can kind of put like my initials there. I'll do William Cruz Carnahan, and then it'll generate the numbers you want. Don't need to do that typically. You can just leave it be exactly what it was. You can see this was one that I had already named in that regard. It's better to keep the names consistent because if you need to reference back to your raw photos, you know exactly what photo you're looking for. A lot of these other things don't necessarily matter unless you're actually going to be limiting your size. JPEGs are fine. If you want to do, depending on the website you're using and depending how big of your file you want to upload, you can decide if you want to limit it yourself as far as file size. I tend to do JPEGs and I'll do about 80%. Just so I got like a nice looking photo. You can also do a resize. If you're shooting RAWs on a D800, your files are going to be huge. You can kind of keep them at 300, or if you're just going to Facebook, 72 is a really good way to get them on Facebook. That'll save you some size and some time. I'm not going to mess with that right now because I want them to be as big as we can. You can take out your metadata or keep it in. I tend to leave all my metadata in because I want to be able to reference what I did depending on where they end up. These photos could go to Lightroom, they could go to Photoshop, they could go to Facebook, they could go to Zenfolio, they could be emailed. So it's kind of good to kind of keep that stuff. If you want to get rid of your personal information, obviously you can remove it there. You can watermark stuff in Lightroom, which is really simple and easy to use. They do have some you can add, or you can use their simple one. That just depends on how you want to run your business and if you want to protect your photos as far as your portfolio goes. I'm not a big fan of watermarks. I feel like they get in the way of the composition. At the same time, I don't want people stealing photos, so it's kind of a controversy. So that's kind of everything. There's really basic, quick things to learn here. You can decide where you want to send it. There are plugins for Lightroom where you can plug in a manager and it will actually export straight to your website if they create one for you. Zenfolio, I believe, has one, and some other sites have some where you can just send it on through.